like I didn't do it soon enough. Why are we screaming? Hmm? Alright. I've got both chats up. Toggle this on and that on. Not that. Hello! We're gonna give it a little bit so that people can jump onto the stream while I adjust my brightness. And then I'm gonna move stuff around here. Make that small. Move all my chat windows so I can see all of you talking. Oh yeah, I did turn it down. The cat was screaming earlier. So if you hear a screaming cat, she's just mad she can't go outside of the room. Turning off my desktop audio. There. How's the audio now? I fixed it. I don't want it to be too loud. Oh yes, and I updated Marvelous to the current build. Come on. Please open. On the right screen would be great. Thank you. I don't want it. Okay. File. New. I don't want Hannah. There we go. You gonna yell for some more? Good. So we are doing evening wear, but it's gonna be more so pattern manipulation, as I'm gonna be making dresses, but also teaching how to add darts and then manipulate those darts into like a princess seam, for example. So it is going to be dresses, but also more pattern manipulation and basics of how to pattern for your avatar. Yeah? Maddie thinks it's a good idea. Right, Maddie? Okay. Now you're going to be quiet. So yeah, if you hear a cat yelling, she's yelling. That's what I thought. And I'm currently just updating all my libraries because I've just updated Marvelous Designer 10. Yeah? I agree, Maddie. We should not be talking about people's physical appearances during a stream in which I am teaching a lesson. You're right. All right, one more minute remaining to update my library here. And yeah. Oh, let me bring up. I almost forgot. Yeah, yeah. I don't know if you can hear her. I kind of hope you can, but I also kind of hope you can't. Six seconds more to go. Maddie, do you want me to bring you onto the stream? You keep yelling. I'm gonna show you to the stream. Okay? Are you gonna go lay down? Wanna come over here? You wanna go say hi? You're a grumpy kitty. I know. This will be my guest, as well as in the chat we have Eric. who will be helping me answer and moderate. She says, let me out of this room. I want to go fight the other cat. So Maddie will be our peanut gallery. So if you hear her, it's a bonus. All right, that's updated. File, new project. I don't want that open. No. Alright, it is 10 after. Let's get started. Hey everyone, I am Megan. I am one of the trainers and 3D designers with Marvelous Designer. And in the chat we have Eric, who is one of our business developers. He will be helping me answer questions that I might miss in the stream and in some of the chats here. Today we are doing Eveningwear, as you can see up in the top corner or in the center of the screen. But what I'm really going to be doing is doing some basic pattern manipulation. This is again another design stream, but I'm also focusing, I'm focusing on pattern manipulation. We had a question last stream about darts, so I will be drafting a fit pattern for the dress and for probably a few different iterations of dress design or garment design from a t-shirt that'll then become a fitted dress, that'll then become a bodice, depending on how fast I go, and then you'll learn how to manipulate patterns to do so. And there's a few different ways to do it, so I'll be doing it the long way first, and then I'll be using the Draw on Avatar feature. And then Maddie will be interrupting me periodically. Right, Maddie? Yeah. So let's swap over to the main screen. Okay. She's just looking at herself in the mirror. And then before we get started, I'll post these again, but I'm going to post in the chats the Discord links. So if you have questions that I miss or that we can't answer, you can always join our Discord and ask other users there that might be using other tools that we don't have. Because I'm going to be trying to see how fast I can get all this done in the period of 2 hours. I'm also linking our YouTube channel for the Twitch channel. This video will be up there in perpetuity. Meanwhile, on the Twitch stream, I believe it'll only be up there for 14 days. So if you want to see all of our previous videos, you can see them on our YouTube channel. And then for those of you who are new to Marvelous Designer and have not used it before, or don't know that we actually have a whole bunch of tutorials, I'm linking one of our tutorial sets in the chat as well. Again, they're all available on our YouTube channel, and we have a lot of patterning lessons and getting started in using Marvelous Designer. And last but not least, for the links that I am posting, we have the support contact as well as spelled that correctly today. Okay. Our support email. So there's two different ways that you can contact us for technical support as well, which I've linked in the chats. This time around, I am not putting the chat window on the stream, just to keep it a little bit cleaner. So let's go ahead and get started. This stream I'm not going to be using Hannah, but eventually we will start using her for more extreme or specifically different designs and different ways to pattern for different body types. But just for ease of understanding, I will continue to use the base avatars because they are less stylized. Because I can always use the fit avatar, or the, which one it's called again? The fitting suit to then just resize it to fit Hannah, for example. But to get started, I'm going to be doing a pattern manipulation just because we had a request for darts, and I'm going to cover darts for a second here. So let me grab the... For her, I don't have a basic block made, so I'm going to go ahead and get one sort of started. This is a men's shirt, which doesn't fit her, but that's fine. I'm going to go ahead and manipulate this pattern to fit her. So to do that, I'm going to move this down and check it on her shoulder. I can see that it's far too large using the center front line here on the avatar's shadow. I can see that her shoulder is smaller than the actual shoulder of this shirt. So I'm just going to select all, Control A, and I'm eyeballing it, but you want it to fit for resizing garments, especially that are for tops. You want to fit the shoulders first. That is the first rule for pattern making. If you're using something that already exists, you fit it down to the shoulder first, and then you start fitting it after that. Doesn't look like I have anything that actually will fit her, so the next thing I'm doing is I don't actually need the sleeves right now, so I'm going to go ahead and delete those sleeves and then raise the armhole because it is far too large for her. And for fitting armholes, you can check to make sure that it actually fits correctly on the avatar, or just the patterning is good. It should look like a wine glass when it's set side seam to side seam. So I'm just using the Edit Curvature tool, and I'm just going to true this up a little bit so that it flows nicely. And we can see here it's already looking a little bit better. This shirt has no darts, and it is large, and it is oversized, originally meant for the male avatar. So if you see these points here, this is actually a good way to see where your dart is going to need to be if you are going to do a princess seam. Exactly, Maddie. Thank you. Can you stop? Okay, thanks. Next, to make it a little bit easier, I'm going to merge the center fronts and I'm going to leave center back not merged because it'll be easier to fit it later. Yeah? And then I'm just going to make this a little bit thinner on her. Let me just check the strain map. I did not think that I needed to do this. Okay. Alright. So let's just say you have an already fitting shirt for your avatar. From here, there's a few different ways to start using darts and to figure out where your darts are going to be. Maddie, stop. One way to do it is to use the Tack Tool and see how much you want to take out or put into the meat of the dart. I'm using the Tack Tool here just to see how I want this to look. And I can also adjust my fit with the Tack Tool using the Edit Tack Tool here. Let me match these up. So this is one way to figure out where you want to take out, or where to take out the meat of the fabric or to put the meat of the dart into, as well as, since someone had previously asked, so you can do this with dart, you can do this with tacking. Tacking is a great way to figure out how much volume you need to take out of a certain area to get it to fit how you want it to look. Yes, or you can use the Dart tool, which is nested underneath the polygon line. You just long press, or you can unnest your tools in the user settings. So here I have the dart. Yes. Here I have the dart tool. And I'm just putting it in here. It's definitely too close to center front, but I can always move it. Yeah, I can move it. Maddie, You don't go outside this room. Stop yelling. Let me turn this shirt transparent. So when you're applying these, these double-ended darts, or when you're applying any dart in general, you want to have the dart point to the apex of the torso, or to whatever the apex of whatever shape it is. If you want to fit around that shape, that the apex of that curve is going to be where your dart is pointing towards. So this dart point here should be pointing towards it and not over it. So I'm moving it. And simulating just so I can see. She's just really grumpy right now. Okay. So it's currently pointing at the apex of the bust on this avatar. And then for the, simulating here, for the meat of this, for the largest portion of this dart, this should be around the waist. Hi, Maddie. But it is still too low. An easy way to do that is to just grab those segment point. You've come closer to the microphone to scream. Just to move those segment points around. And so I can actually just click directly on my pattern. And so they were in the correct space previously. So here I have the beginning of my darts, or what's going to become my French seam. So I'm just going to go ahead and sew them together and see how this fits. And let's turn this back to thick textured surface. It's looking better. Another way to test how my fit looks is to make sure that my side seam here is going up and down. And now let's go ahead and do the same to the back. Again, using the dart tool, starting higher because there is a less apex here, but it's also going to end up using more material. And I'm just going to go ahead and sew that together. So I can already see that, number one, I need to match my sides, or at least match my points here. Dragging that down so it fits her a little bit better. I need to pull this down further because I have this point coming out here. So I just need to drag it pretty much all the way down. That's a problem, which I'll fix in a minute. And the side seams are having some bunching up here just because they are not contoured, which we'll do in a minute. And then we'll do the same with the center back. I'm just getting it close to the bottom, but not touching, because I am going to be cutting up this pattern. So this is the hard way. I'll show you guys the easy way after this. Yes, Maddie, thank you. Now here I also need to remove some volume as well that's pointing towards the apex, or towards the bust in this case. But first I want to fix this. I want to pull this out a little bit more. That looks a little bit better. Yes, Maddie, I know. I know I'm patterning it the long way. And now I'm putting a segment point where the waist is, and I am going to just taper this to match. Just because I'm making a fitted block here. or as close as we can for now. So pulling the shoulders out so I'm not having that gaping here. I can already see here that I have I have extra fabric. So here's where you can use the Tack Tool and see what you need to do and how much you need to take away. So it's already showing me that right here is where I need to put my next dart, because for the bust you generally want to have 2 darts, or at least, you know, 1 very large dart going in a corner. So this has more volume that needs to be removed based on this line that it's been created. So I'm going to go ahead and leave that there and then use the internal polygon tool, again pointing towards the apex. And then it looks like it's probably going to be a little bit bigger. And then to make sure that I'm doing this correctly, I'm right clicking and choosing the option to extend to and trim and add point, because that way I won't accidentally just have this tiny little sliver of pattern connected to it. So before I do anything else, I'm going to go ahead and just delete that tack. So here I can see my apex, or my 2 darts now. This should work out, so let's go ahead and see. Selecting my dart and choosing cut. And then just taking that out. Using the segment sewing tool, or the N hotkey. Now I have fit this shirt pretty much to her. I think the only thing I need to fix is this center back here, because it is coming out. Using the edit curvature tool, I'm just going to go ahead and cut out, shape this out a little bit more. And because of this, I'm going to lower this armhole. That's what's happening. Holding shift to lower it properly, and then we'll actually get on to there. Checking the flow of the armhole, it looks okay. I mean, this is still at 20 particle distance, so that's fine. So here's me. I've made this, basically this fitted block almost. I probably want to remove a little bit more here, but it's center back, and the center back should be straight for now at least. So I'm just gonna leave her sway back in. So here I finally made my darts. I've made a fitted block for this avatar from scratch. So for the person who've asked about darts previously, I used the fabric and I used the pinching method to kind of pinch out the wrinkles to tell me where things needed to be. There are still some problems, but I mean, this isn't going on a real person, and that's okay. It's very pointy here, and to make it less pointy, you can just back off the dart. Come on. There we go. Like so. I want to point it a little bit lower, because it should always be pointing at the apex. And let's see, I want to check one more thing. This is having some fitting problems just because the center front is a little bit too wide still, so I'm just going to go ahead and grab all of this and bring it in. And now it fits her much better. So what I did was I just shifted it inward towards center front. So now I have basically the beginning of my princess seam for, like, let's just say a gown. To then break apart this fitted pattern, next things that I'm going to do is use my internal polygon line tool. And I'm going to connect all these dots to the exterior. Again, using the extend and trim just to make sure I'm doing this correctly. Okay, that one's good. Connecting those lines. And then doing the same to the center back. Oh, I think she calmed down. Now with this one, there's generally a second notch up here, or second dart up here, so I'm just going to go ahead and cheat that and then just create a curved line because I did not pattern that in. So I'm making this now into princess seams, and again adding a curve using the curve tool. I can also check on my avatar how this fits. Because what I want is for it to be... I can't... Okay. There's two different types of princess seams. There's ones that go into the shoulder, and then I'm just going to put it into the armhole just to make it match the front as well. Boop. Again, just curving this. It's a little on the high side, that's fine. I can just adjust the fit before I cut everything out. Like so. And extend and trim. There we go. Let's go ahead and just say that I like how this looks. This is basically a type of princess seam. This will help me make this into a dress pretty quickly, actually, and then we'll move on to another design type of dress fit. Because with this, I can then make any kind of design. So I'm sneaking in a bunch of pattern making. I promised you, I think it's funny, I promised Eveningwear, but it's just pattern design. So, I need to narrate this. So what I've done is I've selected these lines here, these segment lines, and I'm choosing cut and sew. So now I'm blasting apart the pattern for her dress here, for these princess seams. Cut and sew. So now I have the basic block for anything that I can make for her. Welcome! So with this fitted pattern piece here, I can basically make just about everything. I would need to blast apart the center front, but that's fine. I don't know why I say blast apart. I just need to cut the center front so it's two pieces. So first things first, this is super pointy, and I want to clean up and soften my seams here. This is a very tight fitted garment, or a fitted pattern, as you can see here. So what I should do is actually give her more wearing ease in the front and in the waist. And to do that, I'm just giving it more space on the waist here. Rocks, this software is not meant to make patterns for real life. We have a sister software that is meant for making garment patterns for the apparel industry, but Marvelous Designer is not meant for that. But you can still use the same skills to create patterns for your avatars and characters in 3D here. So I will not be teaching during this lesson how to make a pattern in real life and print them. Technically, this would fit a person if they were exactly shaped like this, though. I'm using pattern making concepts, but we are not covering how to make a pattern for real. For printing, for sewing. So cleaning this up. I like to use the smooth curve tool. I'm actually gonna select these 2 points and convert them to curve points. I don't want that. That does too much. I'm just adjusting this just because I wanted it to be 1 point to make it a little bit easier. Alright, that's fine. Making it 1 point, it's still adding some volume to the chest, but that's fine because I'm going to true this up. So using the smooth curve tool, I can just go ahead and grab any segment point and turn it into a curve, which is what I'm going to do now. And I can see how the fit is for the bust here. So I can play around and pull and check the fit. I can already see that I want to make this bust a little bit smaller. So I'm going to go ahead and actually move this in. I have wrinkling here along the bust, so I'm trying to just take that out. I mean, it's not the most important thing, but I'm just pulling it down. But if you are seeing wrinkles in 3D, it's the same concept can be applied to real life as well. So if you're having wrinkling here, it generally is pointing at if you have too much fabric or if you're having problems. So a tip is to look at your wrinkles and your drag lines if it's too tight. I mean, it's 20 particle distance, so it's a little bit more difficult to get information from it, but you can use the information that the simulation is giving you to adjust the fit. Because this will end up becoming just the first evening wear, which is going to be a dress. So I'm going to use the Tack Tool that I showed you earlier. Pardon me. And I can see that the fit is better. So looking at my pattern, it's telling me, using the Tack Tool, that I can get rid of more volume on my side as well, which is really helpful in getting fit information. So I'm going to go ahead and delete that and go ahead and pull it back even more. So what I'm doing right now is removing volume from the bust, or from the side here, to get the fit that I'm looking for. The top doesn't fit her because I didn't actually cater it to fit her, but I'm going to be cutting this out anyway, so I'm not going to get information from this piece here. And then another tip for pattern making, or for when you're creating your design lines, which is going to be important for like most dresses and things like that, is the center of your torso. Let's just say the center, and everything that you're working from the center is going to make is going to create like straight lines and up and down. So as you can see here, the shape of the silhouette is dependent upon how the center looks. So I'm still on the smooth curve tool. Smooth this out. So if you're trying to create design lines, just remember that the pieces on the center front line or the center back line are what are going to create yours, the design lines. And then I'm going to go ahead and just make these into curve points, right-clicking them, holding shift, and then just convert them to curve points. So it's a little bit of a cleaner pattern. Just because I spent a lot of time on this, so let's go ahead and move forward. Fine. Just to make it a little bit easier. That bunching in the back is just bothering me, so I'm going to go ahead and take that out. And then, same thing, I'm just going to create, sorry about that zooming. Now I'm just going to clean up my patterns just a little bit. Using the Smooth Curve tool just to smooth out these points. Okay. I do have some bunching here, and it's most likely because I just need to pull this forward. How do I have bunching here? Maybe it's this one. Whatever. I'm leaving it in. Alright. So, let's go ahead and make this into our first dress. I'm just going to make this into a sheath dress to begin with. So, stealing from the hem here. Making sure I have points on all of the hems, which it looks like I do, around the hip. I'm going to go ahead and true that up, though. Matching all of the bottom segment lines, I'm just going to go and select all of those points that should be along the hip, align, and align top. Simulate that. So now it is closer around her hip. Now we can get on to the evening wear. I'm just going to go ahead and, since I've made those segment points, or segment lines, ooh, one more. I can now create the skirt pretty quickly. By grabbing my segment lines and dragging them and then holding shift to make it straight. And simulating. So it is pretty tight, so let's go ahead and look at the strain map. Actually, that's not bad. We can just add more volume to the hips. All right. I'll fix that in a second. Since I'm making this from scratch. So right now what I'm doing is adding more volume to the circumference around the hip. And now it doesn't have that strain all across her hips, but I have all those points, so I'm going to go ahead and fix those. Adjusting the curve on this. Honestly, just removing those curve points. Why are they doing this? delete all curve points. Delete all curve points. Honestly. Okay. Now it fits better, and I just need to remove all of these little points here in the pattern itself. So again, using the smooth curve tool and just smoothing out those points. And now it fits a lot better, or at least it's draping far nicer. Kind of want it to be a little closer, don't I? I can do that on the side here. Just take a little bit away. So the reason I'm doing this sort of a fit is because then I can always taper in the leg if I wanted to, but I have a better fitting skirt at the moment. I still want to fix the front because it does look like I added a little bit too much. So now it's just draping straight down. Simulate, and I'm going to turn off my strain mat. And now I have pretty much a fitted dress. So this is, let me grab, this is going to be the start of one of my formal wear garments. So I've made it from scratch, utilizing darts. So let's go ahead and do the fun stuff, which is the designing. Here I'm going to use the line pattern tool, so I'm just going to go ahead and, let's see, make it maybe, we'll make this a asymmetrical. Don't want to do asymmetrical right now. Well, I can at least draw it on here for you. So here I can use the, let me double click. Here I am using the draw on, or now line 3D pattern tool. And I can see the pattern in my 2D window, and I can see the lines that are drawn on this. Let me click out so we can see it. Here I can actually start drawing my design lines if I wanted. I'm looking at some of the references here and deciding which one I want to do to begin with. Actually, what I'm going to do first is File, Save as Garment, so I can then adjust this. Fifi Fit Dress. So I'm going to go ahead and make not an asymmetrical bodice. I'm going to go ahead and make a sweetheart neckline to begin with. So let's go ahead and start drawing on here. And then I'm going to have to fit the skirt again and then add some ruffles. So let's go ahead and get that started. Using the, again, the hover over it, line 3D pattern tool. I'm going to make this a bodice that doesn't have any sleeve, I don't think. And now I'm just going to draw on it and see how I like it. I'm going to be making a deep V here, and then looking at my pattern, I do want to adjust the fit of this bodice because I want my dart to be vertically, a little bit more vertical than previously. I can use the edit tool. fine. I'll edit that in a minute. Selecting my lines, I'm going to convert to internal shape because I know it's not trued up. But here I can start cutting out and designing that beginning of the bodice for this dress. And now I can take this and move this to the torso here. So what I'm first doing here is cutting out the shape, or at least carving or drawing out my shape from my bodice. And you can see here that it's curved, like it's curving upwards, but in the actual garment and on the actual avatar here, it's not curving up. So this is what's nice about being able to draw on the garment itself as you're working. So what I'm looking at a reference here from Pinterest. I'm using the bodice from this guy. And then I'm going to go ahead and I think I want to cut this. I'm going to check across the apex. And it's crossing the apex perfectly fine. So turning this back on. Cut and sew. So now I've cut and sewn this. I'm going to go right ahead and cheat this because I want this to be part of this guy. So we're going to see what happens using the merge tool here. I figured. Select them all, merge. Yeah, I figured. Alright. Sometimes I can, sometimes I can't, depending on the complexity of this pattern. Creating one seam and then sewing together. Now I can do that merge. And let's see how this looks. First of all, why it rotated, so I don't want that. Looks like it added some volume. It's not really a reference model. I'm just using it for the style line. I'm no longer referencing it. I can leave this here so you can see it, but there's not much here. I just wanted the neckline shape. Otherwise, I'm done with it. Because right now I'm just getting the shape. Let's see what happens if I do this side. Okay, that's the one I did. Sometimes merge works, sometimes it's not going to, so I'm going to see what I need to adjust here. Because this is a straight line and this is a curve, so what it's happening is it's either adding to it or taking it away. And I'm seeing if I can try to get rid of this, but it doesn't look like it's going to be easy. I could honestly just leave it in as well. But it's changing the fit, and that's why I'm playing around with it. Because if I merge to this one, I'm losing a lot of volume in the center, which means that I can try to curve out the center here to accommodate for that loss. And edit curve points. And as you can see here, what's happening is as I'm adjusting the center line here, it's adjusting how the actual, how the seam lines are looking, or the design lines in this case. And this is not what I wanted. So I'm gonna see what happens when I just go ahead and delete some of this. Bringing things back to being smooth curves. Woo! And not using the add point. Edit curve. Keep clicking the wrong one. And again, fixing how my pattern is looking. Because what I did just kind of messed up how I wanted this to look. Because this should be a smooth line based on what I was originally working on. Because remember that the center is what gives you the shape. So let me use the Tack Tool again. Yeah, that's what I needed to do. I just need to adjust the side piece. There we go. That's what I was doing. Convert to curve point, and then actually delete that. There we go. And smooth curve tool. There we go. That's looking better. And now I'm going to go right ahead and partial freeze some of this, just because I want this to be a fitted garment, but I don't want to deal with some of the simulation problems that could create. I'm just gonna do it the cheater way. I'm gonna use the partial freeze for this, just because I'm gonna do it right across the waist here. Oh, I want to line these all up first. Again. And rotate this guy, x-axis. Okay. For now, I'm just partial freezing on the hip. So now just this portion is frozen, so this is going to fall backwards, which is why I've done this. Because I no longer need, oops, this, but I want to keep the hip from moving. So there's a few different ways that I'm going to do this. I'm going to go right ahead and clean up my workspace. Okay. Again, using the smooth curve. Come back, come back. And then going to the back. I'm trying to decide. I think I just want to do a... I'm going to simulate a corseted bodice here, so I'm just going to go right ahead and... I'm holding control here to make a curve point. And... that's close. Right click and convert to internal shape. And then I can do a little bit more cleanup here. I'm gonna go right ahead and just cut this. And I don't need the entire top anymore. So I do want to true this up, so clean up a little bit on the back. Clearly has a point there. Curve this bodice a bit more. I'm just going to draw on this again. And I'm going to cheat and just use the cut option and cut. And I figured. Traces, internal shape. Yeah. The reason it wasn't working was because I didn't finish yet. I didn't connect the lines. Right click, extend and trim. Cut. Oh, how did that happen? That's probably why that occurred. Delete all curve points and then fix this guy a little bit. I'm just going to lower it. So right now a lot of this is just going to be pattern making and manipulating, so I'm just gonna, now that that's there, actually I can convert to internal shape. And then cut across. Cut so. And now more cleanup. Again, this looks blocky just because I am working with 20 particle distance still. And this doesn't fit her correctly just because this has no support. Oh. And I removed the freeze by accident. That's okay though. So to simulate boning here, I'm going to add seam taping to this line and to stiffen it. There's a few different ways to get around this too, because you can also just use the tack on avatar, which I may do. We'll see. See how much I can get away with before I need it. Because this is also telling me that I need to adjust the fit of this top. Because it's falling down, I need to tighten it on the bodice. So I really just don't like how that looks. It looks a little bit better. So you could add straps here, but you can already see that I need to, it's falling down off of the bust. So I need to add more volume to this dart so it actually stay, or take away more from this dart so that it stays. Because if I use the Tack Tool, which is my favorite tool for fitting, and I tack it, I can see how much I need to remove. It is starting to fall off the bust, but that's fine. So I'm gonna go ahead and just take a little bit away. From the center. And from the side. So if you don't want to deal with this and I want to move on to do multiple lessons here, I'm going to go ahead and use the tack on avatar. And I can just go ahead and tack it fabric directly to the avatar. So instead of adding straps, for example, I can tack it directly to my avatar. And simulate the fact that I might have boning, or just make it fit how I want it to fit, because that's a good way to utilize Marvelous Designer, and you don't actually have to make sure that it perfectly fits. You can always just use tack to avatar. And it continues to simulate, it's just tacked in that space. So just remember that you've tacked it there. So I'm going to go ahead and just add a little bit more design to this. And using curve points. And backspace once to take steps backwards and not delete your entire workflow when you're drafting here. And I'm going to go ahead and stabilize that neck just a little bit. Here I'm going to be making a copied piece, so I'm adding just a decorative, I'm going to call it a flange, but I don't think that's the correct word, a fabric hanging off on both sides. So using the edit tool, convert to internal shape. So I'm going to use the trace tool for this. I'm going to trace these pieces as a pattern so that I can make this. Trace as pattern. No, that's not what I wanted. Okay, fine. Or you can just make copies. And again, I'm just using the merge tool, or merge feature. Using the trace tool or the I hotkey. Trace as pattern. Looks like I missed one. I'm just going to make a copy. There's a few different ways to do this. Copy, paste. I'm going to remove linked editing across that center front line. And I'm just going to go ahead and cut this. Cut, because I just want the half. And I'm going to do the same to this. Oh, that's why. Merge that back, and the same with this one. And again, doing more cleanup. Letting that slingshot into place. So now that I have this guy, I'm going to merge it at center back, but I am going to clean this up a little bit more. Right-clicking, converting to curve points, cleaning this up just a little bit, because this will sew onto here, but what I want to do, yeah, it's still kind of, that's what I wanted. There we go. And then just sew that right into place, holding shift. So right now, this would cause a bit of a problem. If I simulated this, it might cause some simulation issues. So what I'm going to do is right click it and choose superimpose over. Oh, I did forget the back. And we'll trace that, trace this pattern. Merge. Looks like I forgot a few back pieces here. So I've got the front, and apparently I just forgot that the back existed, so I'm going to go ahead and just do that same thing. Using the trace tool, or again, you can just copy and paste it and then just cut out what you don't want. And I'm just using the N hotkey for sewing at the moment, using the B to edit, selecting this piece as the one that the other portion will merge to, and then doing a little bit more cleanup here. And the rest of this will then go here. Selecting the pattern itself one more time and doing superimpose over. Oop, okay. And now I have my bodice, I have my dress, and I can see how it looks. I can check my sewing line since it's coming upwards here. I can check my line by selecting it. It says custom angle. I'm going to choose turned instead, which is going to push it down. And I can do the same to the other side now. Right-clicking it, choosing symmetrical pattern with sewing. Superimpose over. And I'm going to make this one layer 1 just to try to prevent any simulation issues. So it is overlapping here, and there is a way to deal with that. But I deleted it, so I'm gonna have to copy that again. Trace. As internal shape. Where's pattern so I can see where this is? I'm going to cheat and choose lock all pattern outlines, unlock internal lines, and draw across it. Unlock pattern outlines. Ow. Drawn the wrong one. I mean, honestly, it's not causing me a problem at the moment because it's multiple layers. But I'm just going to go ahead and... there it is. Where is it? Drawing on here. So what I'm going to have to do is sew it also across this. We'll just leave it like that for now. That's fine. So I'm gonna go ahead and let's apply some fabric to this just so we can see how this looks. And going to fabric, I'm just gonna choose velvet. Let's do velvet. I don't want cotton velvet. What? Maybe it's under silk. I guess we only have cotton velvet. I mean, sure. All right. And then always, so I mean, you don't have to actually, but she doesn't have a zipper, so I don't have to care. And then let me turn off the viewing of stabilizer. So here's the first one. This is just the beginning because I'm going to steal the bodice from this. So here's just a super simple dress. Let me go ahead and start tapering in the skirt. So we get more of a mermaid shape. And center back. those layers back down. Now let's go ahead and I'm leaving the bodice as it is. I'll make this a longer skirt and then split the skirt as well. And select all, grab, shift. And then we will remove some of the sewing from the center front, but to do that I'm going to remove linked editing for now. So now we have, oh, let me actually raise this more. Nice and high. There we go. So now we've got a little leg. And let's see. Asymmetrical. All right. I'm going to turn off texture. So next I've basically finished the first one. Next is more pattern manipulation for this gown. So the second version that we can do is do an asymmetrical cut. What I want to do is I'm just going to go ahead and just use this point as my let me grab all of this, Control A. Now, drag and drop so you can see it again. I'm going to go right ahead. And if it'll let me, I want to work this way. Holding Control. Next, I'm going to make a different type of a dress. Feel free to start suggesting different dress styles, because after this one, I'll probably slice it here and then make a ball gown. But I'm sticking with formal wear first, and then we'll go all the way over to ball gown, because I have another half an hour, which is nice. I'm going to choose cut. Hopefully this one works. I've eyeballed it. There we go. I'm going to delete the entire lower half. Oh, maybe not all of it. Because they are still relatively symmetrically linked. Delete. And then merging this one back together. And then, of course, cleaning up as I go. Convert to curve point. B, and right-clicking and choosing merge. These are no longer symmetrically linked, so keep that in mind. Where's this point? Ah. Deleting my curve points. And now I'm going to add a large ruffle here. Measuring my seam lines. Remove linked editing. Okay, now I can measure a little bit faster. 1139.6. So I could do that with a rectangle. And sew it into place, and we'll take a look at how that looks. Or you can do that with a circle. Holding shift. And then definitely tapering this. But we're going to do it this way. And again, using right click, superimpose side. And to make it a little bit easier, I am freezing the whole garment and then simulating. And I'm going to let this fall down. Now this is just a plain rectangle, which you can see here, it's not really what you want, or what, not really clean and nice looking. So let's go ahead and I can make a circle. So let's go ahead and do that. You can also slash and spread this one, but I'm going to stick with a circle just because that's what we're going to end up doing. Click once. Do I want it to be perfectly tapered? Well, that's the diameter. But what I want for the internal ellipse should be that measurement. 113.96. Because that's the traveling measurement, so this should at least be bigger. And then I'll just play with it. 1139.6 is the circumference. There we go. Fine. I could do proper math, but I'm not going to. This right now would just get me a straight up ruffle. Circumference, please. Thank you. And I'll just go ahead and edit this way. From where I want my center point to be, I'm going to go ahead and just pull it out, make it smaller in the beginning and bigger on the back. First of all, converting this to a hole, and then cutting this internal line. It's not pretty, but I can edit it as I go. Extending and trimming, because I clearly didn't see that. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. What am I missing? Okay, fine. You know what? I'm gonna make that no longer a hole. There's a tiny spot that I'm clearly missing. For the sake of this, let's see if that works. Oop. Wrong one. What am I missing? Extend and trim. Extend and trim. Okay, fine, be that way. Gonna be a cheater. Merge and merge. There we go. Oh, I know why. Points are too close together. It's too perfect. Okay. There we go. That's what was causing the problem. So when you are merging things, if you do it a little bit too perfectly, those points can't overlap each other in the 2D window, and that's what was causing the problem that I was encountering. And I forgot about it. Alright, sewing this back together. Going this way, so I'm going to go ahead and do it this way. And again, right-clicking, superimpose side. Oh, it went through the other side of the leg. Okay, where is this? Just gonna go ahead and pull the mesh that is through the leg out. Turn off strengthening. And then here I can just adjust how this looks. There we go. And here I'm just doing a little bit of cleanup. Let's just go ahead and drag and drop this onto the dress. And we can see we've got a more mermaid style with a ruffle here. I could do multiple layers of this if I wanted. And then just sew it to itself. And I'm choosing superimpose in the 3D window under. Again, making everything easier by freezing before simulating. I should actually do superimpose side. And then unfreeze the upper layer. Give it a layer 1 value just to make it a little bit easier for simulation purposes. And this is still bigger, so I'm going to go ahead and just do that. Back it away. There we go. I mean, it's not the prettiest thing, but now you have 2 layers. The lower one has more ruffles underneath it, just because it is physically larger. But you could do easily multiple different types of designs. And let's do the final one. So next I'm going to go ahead and just slice it all at the waist here. And have a bodice, and then we'll sew a larger skirt into it. Again, let me just turn off. Control A, please. Please and thank you. So you can see this. I'm just using the default fabric. And these are no longer symmetrically linked, so just be aware of that if you do the same thing. But I'm just doing it this way just for the sake of doing multiple designs during one stream. So I'm choosing cut. It's not the prettiest cut, but that's okay. Make sure not to get segment points you want to keep. And I'm deleting. This is a very rough version of what you would probably be doing, but they're just, these concepts can still be applied. Now, what a lot of people like to do is just make a large dirndl skirt, which is a rectangle. And I'm going to sew it into the bodice. This isn't going to be the most perfect fit, which is why I'm showing you this. And then we'll go from that to a little bit better of a design. Actually, wait, before I actually delete the previous one, I'm going to save it. Save. Whew. Come back. Give me. Yes. Right click and deactivate pattern and sewing. Okay. I'm saving this for later. For the flared skirt. Okay, now I'm going to do just a rectangle. And I'm going to show you the base rectangle, what people end up doing. And how it ends up looking compared to a more fitted skirt with flare to it. So this is going to be center back, so I'm referencing my center back. That's a point, so I don't need it. And go ahead, delete that. I'm missing one more sewing. Where is it? Here it is. Apparently I didn't cut it clean enough, but that's fine. Activate sewing, delete. And I'm just gonna drag it down. Again, freezing everything on the bodice. Freeze. And right click. Superimpose side. I could do it another way. Sometimes superimpose doesn't work like you're seeing here. I can just turn on the arrangement points. And wrap it and then go down to offset and then just increase the offset. So it's not pretty. Drag onto all of it. Toggle this on. I don't want the upper piece. Right click, unfreeze. So this is what it looks like if you just did a straight up dirndl skirt, which is just a rectangle. We'll give it the best chance of looking nice by making this one a 10 particle distance. And simulating. So this is just a rectangle that's been evenly sewn into this bodice. But let's go ahead and delete that, simulate again. This is stylized so that it is higher in the front and lower in the back. That's fine. I should, if I wanted it to be perfectly straight across the waist, this would be longer in the front, and I wouldn't have cut that away. But this is a style choice. So let's go ahead and bring back this piece. And I can actually use this to make the more flared skirt. Oops. Let me just bring this back down and put it over her waist. And then sew them into each other. Normally you wouldn't have to do as many stitches, but I removed all of the linked editing. So let's go ahead and I'm gonna remove all of this. Because what I want is to make this into gussets or triangles. So to get volume like this, I can just use the waist as my center point and then just, I'm gonna make one master one here. This is where it is not even, but that's okay. They should be, but I didn't do it. Calling where the ground is and pulling this out and making it into triangles as even as possible. I'm now going to do that with the rest of this. Rotating it so it's flat as possible. Not changing the size of the top, but I will make it match as best I can. Whoops. To this bottom piece. It's not going to be perfect just because of how I've patterned it, but the concept is what's there and what's important. and dragging. And this is how you're going to get the best trumpet fit. You can start adjusting it from here. This one is technically 2, but I'm not going to change that right now. Actually, this one I want to make it bigger, because this is the front. And then last one. Where's the big boy? Okay, move that one, because that one's probably going to need some more playing with. Okay. Having the centerpiece here. I think this goes there. This does take up your workspace a bit, as well as your UV map. And then to make it easier, I am going to freeze the bodice. Freeze and simulate. Actually, this would be a great time to use the GPU simulation. Settle that and then go to normal. Let's see. Looks like there are some crazy sewing relationships at the moment. Let's go ahead and delete those. Don't know when I managed that, but all right. When you're making this, you probably won't encounter this just because I've done so many pattern manipulations. I don't remember what I've done. All right. Let's add some pressure just so we can see how it looks. This is probably going to need a little bit more. Oh, let's do 2. Oh, yeah, I forgot. I'm gonna have to play with my my pressure a little bit because I was trying to make a wacky wavy inflatable tube man the other day. So don't do pressure when you have very odd values going. Turn pressure off to 0. And let me just turn this all unfrozen. It is pulling it down, but that's fine. So here's another very simple gown, and then you can add more volume to the hem if you want. In fact, an easy way probably to do this is to Weft and Warp. I haven't tried this one, so let's see. Make it 150%. Let's see what that does. It adds a lot more weight to the seam above, just because this is really heavy material. Let's bond and solidify all of that. Oh. Stabilize it a little bit. Yeah, I probably should have just left it frozen. but I've also chosen velvet. Let's go ahead and bring in, let's do satin. Silk Duchess satin. Drag it onto this. Let's make the satin gray. I just at least like at least a 50-50 gray if I can. Oh, did I do that to all of this? I'm just going to cheat the fit for a second and turn off. Okay, reactivate this. Deactivate pattern and sewing, because now this will bounce back up. There's ways to work around this, but I am just doing this quickly just because this is we're nearing the time limit here. I'm just going to reactivate the skirt so it matches to the bodice. And I'll have to fix this. But this is a simple way to make different styles of formal wear or dresses and using basic pattern manipulation, because I know that there were some people that wanted to understand how darts work, and I made all of this from an ill-fitting men's shirt. So do we have any other questions before I swap over and share the links again? All right, I'm gonna go ahead and go to our resource page here, and I'm gonna make sure I can see it correctly. So here, let me grab my cheat sheet as well. So thank you guys for joining us for the stream. Let me copy and paste our links again. So for those of you who have further questions, or you want to ask other users who use Marvelous Designer what their preferred methods are for exporting or specific types of ways of working with Marvelous Designer, you can join our Discord channel here, which I am linking. Of course, we also have our website. Let me grab that, copy, paste. Which we do have our forum there as well for more resources. And for our Twitch viewers, I am pasting our YouTube channel. Our video will be up for the 14 days that Twitch leaves these videos up, but it will be up in perpetuity in the YouTube channel. And for those of you who are newer to Marvelous Designer and don't know these, like I did a pattern manipulation tutorial basically here and showed you how to make different types of skirts and different types of formal wear dresses and kind of formal wear design. But we also have other basic tutorials that do cover similar concepts of pattern making that is applicable to both the real world and in Marvelous Designer, unlike other softwares. So you can use our resource here that I've just linked one of our many tutorial playlists. And I have our email up here for the community. This one we're not going to check. Please do not contact us for support. I will paste the support email here in a second. Oop. But if you have ideas that you want to see on stream or specific tools or methods like understanding darts and dart manipulation, which is what I've done today, feel free to send us an email there and include like stream idea or something along those lines. And for those who have support questions or encountering issues with Marvelous Designer, please feel free to contact us through the support on our website or at support@marvelousdesigner.com. And pasting that into the chat as well. And that is it for me copying and pasting all of these things in here. I hope you enjoyed the stream. I know I kind of like went through it really quickly, but I did want to cover a lot of the pattern manipulation concepts that are important for understanding dart manipulation and how it can apply to making formal wear relatively quickly. I made multiple different dresses. I made, what, 1, 2, 3 different dresses in the period of 2 hours from a t-shirt. And I then also made a fitted bodice. So you can use these things, and especially the creating of that fitted garment, that first fitting garment, if you make that for your avatar, like it doesn't have to be a Marvelous Designer avatar, these concepts still apply to any avatars that you bring in, your custom avatars. You can apply that to your custom avatar and then start making your custom garments if you don't have Marvelous Designer 10, but if you do, you can also try to see how it works out with utilizing the fitting suit with your imported custom avatar. Oh, I just closed. Okay. But yeah, thank you guys so much for joining. I know I just kind of like spat out a lot of information, but that is the 2-hour mark for the stream. Feel free to join us on our Discord as well. I do moderate the Discord, but I moderate the Discord while I also have other tasks and jobs to do. So please don't expect staff to quickly answer you. We do have a lot of super users in our community and a lot of really wonderful users as well that can help answer your new questions. So thank you so much for joining our stream, and we'll see you not next week, but the week after that.